Coming to you alive through the power of the interwebs. Inside the Green Room studio from the flagship source of the Earth Mix Garden Products Network, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates, bringing you all the wisdom and wit you'll ever need to tackle your garden and your projects. Now broadcasting alive from Bates Nursery and Garden Center at 3810 Whites Creek Pike, just 1 mile north of exit 19 off Briley Parkway, or 0.9 miles as the Josh drives. Here's Josh Cary and David Bates.
Oh yeah, everybody knows what that music means. It's now time to climb a tree, don your loincloth, and survey the backyard because it's time for the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Josh!
What?
I'm trying to get back to the studio.
I told you to hit that 8th chevron on the timescape. Come on, David. See? You got to get all the chevrons when you're working with the wormhole, David Bates. Are you okay?
I'm not sure.
Got a little warp fade going on there?
I don't know what it is, but I'm really glad to be back, and I am here.
Yes, you are.
And hey, we've got new graphics up on the wall.
Yes, we do. You've been away. The mice have been playing.
We spent some of your money while you was out.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, it is a Saturday morning tradition.
Live from the green room.
Yes, we had a little fun. Now David, he snuck in here underneath the wire. I mean, he was almost late, but he was in the transfer portal.
And almost really doesn't count.
That's all right. It's Saturday morning. It means it's time for us, the At Home Show. We're all here for you, coming to you from the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. A little brisk, but I think it's going to be a gorgeous day, David.
It's going to be a good day. There will be showers in the afternoon. We're going to start off with a cloudy day, but it's going to be fairly mild, high of 51 degrees. And we will have showers as we go into the evening. There could be a chance of a little flake or two at the late hour.
What?
But tomorrow will be more sun. We're going to have some partly cloudy conditions and some sunshine, high of 41. 25 for the overnight low. If we go into Monday, hey, it looks like a pretty good day. 54, 42. Hey, spring is on the way, right? Not so fast. Goes on Tuesday. Well, here we go. 53 for the high on Tuesday and afternoon showers. Well, that's not too out of the line what we've been doing. Wednesday, 47, 37. And then we go to Thursday. 40 degrees for the high, 22 for the low. And rain in 22. That doesn't. And then we go to Friday. It says 34 and 11.
Say what?
34 degrees for the high and 11 degrees for the low. And as we move on into Saturday, 7 degrees, 27 for the high temperature. So there are certainly things that we need to be mindful of. And as we move back into the first of the following week. Right now, it says a chance of snow showers. So anyway, there's a lot of much cooler temperatures moving through beginning on Thursday. Friday will be a cold night. Saturday will be the most frigid night of the year. And then it starts to moderate back out. But again, we've got snow in the distant forecast. They have taken it out on the forecast I'm looking at currently. However, just last night, before I went to bed, they were showing 5 inches of snow. So I think this is one of those developing stories.
We're going to go ahead and cancel school today, though.
I think it's time to make a TP milk and egg run to your favorite grocery place.
No need. Everyone's got all the TP they need already.
That's right, Michael.
It already happened.
You are right. So, yeah, we don't need to have more toilet paper, although I'm sure the paper producers of America would.
Georgia Pacific thanks you for your services.
Keep stocking up. So anyway, that's the outlook for the week ahead. So we've got some things to discuss weather-wise that we need to be all mindful of here, and to know that if you want to engage us and talk about it, we'd love to have you talk about it. 615-499-6690, just like it shows right there on the screen. Call that number. You can send a text if you prefer. It goes right to the bat phone there. And
Right here, this one.
Michael will either answer it or he'll return the call
or he'll ignore you.
Well,
It depends. If you're calling and I deem that your question is worthy, I'll put you on through. If you're calling and
That sounds awful lot like call screening, David.
but if you're calling and you're wanting to know about our car's extended warranty, you're probably not going to get on.
No, and even though
But you know what? If you see somebody broken down on the side of the road, you don't stop anymore because they were warned about that extended warranty. You don't stop and help a neighbor anymore.
That's true. Well, and I tell you what, I got even a more severe notice on one of my extended warranty. If I don't respond to them, they're going to take me off the list and they won't be calling me anymore.
No.
Oh yes.
Oh, heaven forbid! Now, David Bates, something has caught me eye on your jacket there. Is that a tarpon?
That is a snook.
A snook.
It almost looks like a rainbow trout.
Yep, that is a snook, a much larger
That's
fish.
not inside the slot limit where you can keep a snook, is it?
I don't know. There's probably like an over-under limit on the snook. It's probably like
a slot, I think is what they call those.
Yep. There's so
because your buddy Mike Allison got one while he was down in Florida.
He got 3 of them.
Oh.
He actually caught 3 of them. He got one all the way up to the side of the boat. The 3 biggest ones that his brother-in-law, who, by the way, he is in the International Sportsman's Hall of Fame, so he is a real
snooker.
He's a real bona fide guy down the Everglades.
So where have you been?
I have actually been way down south. We've been to Marco Island, and it's a very nice place. The weather certainly is
a little warmer.
mild. It's a good 20 degrees warmer than it is here, and we really enjoyed that. And so we got to broadcast from there and take in the sights, part of which was the Everglades. We did go to the Everglades
National Park.
Yes,
and that side is the one that is less visited than the one on the eastern side.
Likely, I don't really know, but
you got to be going to the Everglades to get there.
But what I really had was a sense of awareness of just how narrow the state of Florida is. You're leaving the southwest coast and driving into the Everglades. Everglades City is the city that we were going towards, and quickly you see a sign for Miami. It says 84 miles. So you're not very far.
That's close enough to. It's close enough to.
And for those of you who may never have looked at Marco Island on the map, it is longitudinally due west of Miami, so it's that far south, and it is latitude-wise due north of Key West. So it's way down there, and I think that you can get. We did not do this, but I think you can get a ferry ride. It's like about a 3-hour trip to Key West from Marco Island.
That would be nice.
Yeah, and we only found out about that the last day we were there.
Of course. 615-499-6690. That is the number to interact with us here if you want to. Go out on the Facebook page, The At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates Facebook page. Share what's going on this morning if you choose. Start a watch
you guys
party.
are sporting new microphones. I'm relegated with the existing equipment.
He's just testing that one out.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So but that's your road gear, right? You're going to be taking a road trip at some point here, and we now that we have kind of figured out our technology, and it's taken a while. I mean, we are officially 11 months into this deal, but more to the point, we are officially 23 years. You and I, Josh Cary,
as the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
and of course it started out as the At Home Show with Josh Cary.
Yes, of course.
And I don't know why they thought I didn't need to be on the bill, but it took a while for
I think it was a clerical error.
Maybe, but I just said,
Mama Kathy took care of that.
I'm
took
there.
care of the kid back in the day. So.
I'm there every week. Seems like that we talk at least 50% about plants.
At least they spelled your name correctly.
Well,
though.
his last name is Cary, and of course, forever his last name has been misspelled Carey. And
yes.
Apparently, they were friends of the comedian, and they just it was a clerical error.
I'm surprised it didn't spell like Jim Carrey.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's the Canadian version.
Isn't that Carry?
No, it's Carey is how he spells
Are
his
you
as
sure?
well.
There is a Carry spelling now. Jim
There's a
Carrey,
Kerry, there's a Carie, there's a Kari. There are all kinds of derivations of that.
Yeah,
family.
Carrey. You're right.
That's the Canadian version.
Yeah, American Canadian actor.
So anyway, 23 years ago, actually on the 2nd, Josh and I did our first program with just us together. Now, we actually had almost 2 years together prior to that, so we're really very close to 25 years that we've actually been doing this every Saturday morning, which is in and of itself, it's a head scratcher at the very least. Well, I don't know about you, Josh, but I certainly didn't have I didn't know we'd be doing it for a month, let alone nearly 25 years getting the broadcast together. So,
that's usually how it works in radio. You think you're coming in to do a spot, then all of a sudden you're doing an interview, and then it's been 20 years.
Josh
and
and I were both fill-in guys. And to quickly go over the story,
advertisers on another show.
Yeah, and back in the day on WTN, we were both advertisers, and there was a show that came on Saturday mornings called Weekend Lifestyles with Norman Daniels.
And we did 2 hours kicking off with landscaping and home improvement. It was followed by a car show that Norm did.
Yeah,
and he sold tons and metric tons and more metric tons of gypsum, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, he did.
He is responsible for all the gypsum sold in Middle Tennessee during that year.
And he's also responsible for us ever being together. At least we got cast to him, and I think he'd go, well, I can work with these guys. They're,
David would be in 1 week filling in for the gardening guy that they had, and I would come in for the home improvement guy. As it turns out, there was a gentleman that used to discuss when critters and pests came around. One of his surefire go-to methods for deterring a critter was to mark your territory.
Right.
Yes, and it was quite the go-to, and I don't think it played well with the PD at the time. And
no, there was some
there's
strife.
some validity to it, but
There was some strife there. But what originally was supposed to be simply, I thought was going to be a 1 week fill-in, and I said, well, sure, I'll be glad to do that. And then they called me back on the Monday afterwards and said, well, could you come back next week?
Yep.
And then they just said, well, could you just keep coming back?
And then fate happened. We both were in there at the same week.
Right. Josh, about a month later, kind of had the same experience. So I think we won. We were cast together by default of the guys that we were replacing were not. They weren't all that happy with them. They were kind of. They kind of were developing a.
We are much better looking than they were.
Well,
there was no question.
We're still doing it,
and it was radio. So that tells you something.
Oh yeah, it's all about how you look in radio.
Does anybody remember that program? I mean, if you are actually out there watching us and listening to the podcast, maybe next week when it comes up, if you remember those programs, because. After that period of time, there was a PD change, and then the programming changed, and there was a change of ownership, and lots of other things that came along. We were at the Rio Bravo parking lot with during a Titans pregame program, and it came about that, hey, you want to do a show? Hey, you want to do a show? Yeah, we'll do a show.
Yeah.
February 2nd of that year.
98.
They opened the door. We had to buzz in those days. We didn't even have card keys. Corey Berry was in there.
It was a little soon
back
to
in
be
the closet.
trusting us.
Yeah, back in the closet, back there, and the blue room from the White House, as it was referred to in those days. They opened the door, turned the lights on, turned the mics on,
and off you went.
Off we went.
Lee Murphy has just texted you. He said, I'm not sure of the year, but I changed over from listening to Lark Foster from 1510 to you guys on 99.7 they said the very early 90s. He said something must be wrong with him because he's been listening to you guys ever since.
Well, now, in 98 is when we started doing our show together.
Yes.
It was a full 3 years prior to that. So it was 95 when we began
That counts as the early
broadcasting.
90s.
Yeah, it's right there at it. But and by the way, Lark Foster, dear friend of mine,
Yes.
and she and her
did a great program.
She and her dad Walt had a wonderful program for a lot of years, and it just goes to show you that there's more than one way to approach doing anything. And certainly our approach was a little different than theirs, but they were nonetheless successful.
Yes.
And I don't know if just being on the air is a measure of success. I mean, this version of the At Home Show is largely been a collaborative creation by the group, 4 of us here, and Nora before she ran away.
Now you're on the she's running away train.
Well, she did. Her fiance needed to go back, and she was going to go with him. And I didn't even try to talk her out of it because I knew you were
going to lose that argument.
Love wins all.
Love wins all, and so there you go. So I'm happy for her, and I'm happy that we at Bates Nursery and Earth Mix Garden Products get to continue to have a relationship with her, and that's a good thing because she's a very talented marketing individual, and we're glad to have her. I want to call attention to the peak up there at the ceiling.
The peak.
Our new green room sign. Tyler got that. Sorry, I don't know why I called you Taylor.
Because Josh did.
I called him Travis, so I mean that's okay.
Anyway, Tyler got that skillfully installed yesterday, so thank you for that. And it's it looks every bit as wonderful as I hoped it would. It was just a extra little touch, and we talk about the green room a lot.
Yep.
So, and I've tried to now when we put it out in the hashtags, hashtag the green room. So that we can, get it out there in the posts. You never know what's going to happen in the green room.
That's true.
You could be teleported back in from some place, wherever.
Groom Lake.
It's a stable wormhole, I keep telling you. You don't teleport through that. Now, you have a transporter system, which we don't really have that. That one's been down since the mid-90s as well.
Well, we've come a bit with our technology, but not quite that far
Josh,
yet.
do you call it a wormhole or an Einstein-Rosen bridge?
I call it a wormhole.
It's an Einstein-Rosen bridge.
It's a rainbow bridge if you're really going into Marvel, isn't it?
That's not real.
Asgard?
No.
See,
Are you sure?
I believe it more to be quantum entanglement, where you physically exist in both parallels, both the existences at the same moment.
So it's kind of like going over the event horizon.
But when you look at one or the other, they don't exist.
Tyler, they're pulling on that string theory again here. You hear them talking?
Yeah, I mean, you guys obviously are more spatially oriented than I am.
We're definitely spaced out, man.
I'm very aware of my surroundings. I'm spatially oriented.
Okay, well, you can fold those universes together, but as it were, because Groom Lake is a great spot, and I mean, I know you had a working vacation, but
I did,
and it was working between Marco and Groom Lake, but you had a little glitch because we forgot that 8th chevron as you dialed it in on the Stargate.
That's no more than we use it. It's just easy to forget.
Well,
those little things.
Well, the one down in Antarctica works really good, but we haven't been down to McMurdo in a while either.
We have not.
All righty, folks. 615-499-6690. We are happy to be here for our 23rd year.
Absolutely.
And it's all because of you guys, and it really is. I mean, David and I enjoy it. Well,
we do have fun.
We've had children, we've had deaths, we've had all kinds of things through these 23 years.
Life has certainly continued to happen throughout all the time we've been on the air.
I only had one child when we started this.
Right. And both of mine were quite young. And when Josh and I first started broadcasting together, I was still in my 30s. And had hair.
I've still got hair. I actually got a haircut. Did you notice? I cut the flow.
Yeah.
I wasn't. Now I like to. It always cracks me up. I wasn't broadcasting with you guys, but we started broadcasting roughly the same year. When I was 14.
All righty. Corey Smith reminds us that it's in addition to TP, milk, eggs, and feminine hygiene products, you forgot that off the list, that your bacon and your sausage should be restocked and resupplied. And I understand.
Well, Yard Boy also messaged that he started listening to you guys about 2000. Used to listen to Norm Parton, who had a racing show on Monday nights on WTN.
I tell you, one of the finest programs ever.
Funniest
you
guy
didn't
that's
have
ever
to be a racing fan to enjoy the program. I mean, Norm's a very engaging guy, and I still enjoy getting to read what he puts forth on Facebook and other social media places.
I remember that when he had a contest where he would give something away, he would want to know the correct answer to the question was always, what color socks does he have on?
Yes.
You remember that?
I do remember that.
Norm, it was great program.
We ought to do a game like that, and it'd be a fun game. It's called The Answer's Always C. And you give someone a question, and is the answer A, B, or C, and whatever the answers are. Even though the game is called The Answer Is Always C, you would be shocked at how many people never pick C.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, and I would imagine that Corey probably also listened to G. Gordon Liddy in those days. Mr. Liddy
selling his gold.
The breakfast. It was the round table with Teddy Barton, Carlin Evans was on. And then we had. There was a bunch of folks during those days that we'd run around with. And
we certainly got to interact with
Daryl and Carlo.
Daryl and Carlo, and I think they're now living in New York, upstate New York, I believe.
I haven't seen a post recently.
I believe they do. So, life has presented a whole lot of changes over these last
We had Dr. Liddy as a guest. Yeah, we had Dr. Liddy come on on the show.
He took exception to my reference to premium pansies.
Yes.
Premium pansies.
It ran as a program. David was doing a commercial for premium pansies, and Dr. Liddy was on the line waiting to come on.
Now, one thing I will say, he did have. I did notice that he might stretch, the truth just a little bit, because he was 5'10". I heard him say that on the air many times. And I have a picture of he and I standing together, and we're the same height. And I'm 5'7.5".
But the one thing about standing next to Dr. Liddy, he can kill you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just in 50 different ways.
He can kill you with your own fist.
Well, I remember that what struck me about him was that his arms, his wingspan was wider than he was tall.
He could have been
he'd kill you just
a wide receiver if he had a little more legs to go with it.
I heard he was quick.
Yeah.
All right, because we used to do remotes, and we're waxing philosophic here, but we used to help promote Dr. Liddy in Middle Tennessee, and we went to several car dealers, and we promoted the Stacked and Packed calendar.
That was a big deal with him at the time, where he had scantily clad women with firearms.
With firearms, yes.
Only G. Gordon Liddy could pull that off.
Oh, at the end, the Stacked and Packed calendar was amazing, though. And we always got a signed copy. We did that 3 years or 2 years. I know we did.
You guys ought to do a swimwear calendar with just you guys, and then sell it for donations for like a nonprofit.
I don't know that we would raise much money.
Yard Boy would buy them all,
just to keep them out of other people's hands,
or wallpaper. His pup garage.
Yeah.
Oh, the command center there. No, I don't. But the Brady Project might buy into that a little bit. I don't know. We can get Poppy Joe in there too. Because 12 months or 13 months of just you and I in Speedos.
Oh, well, that's not what I said. I was thinking more, Bermuda trunks,
board shorts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We could probably rock some board shorts.
We could get out there with our spouses in matching outfits.
Nah.
That's never a good look.
Nah.
Although I did see some incidences of it, not too many.
Now you've been down to South Florida, and
yes.
And we don't like to talk about stereotypes here. But David, if you were on the beach, I know you saw this gentleman. The shorts, the sandals, the black socks, the wife beater T-shirt,
right,
the big floppy hat.
It gets around.
And the metal detector. I know you saw this.
I did. I absolutely did.
Wait, was my dad down there?
I absolutely did see him, and he had
every beach in Florida.
He had the metal detector on the ground on the beach when he was digging, and I didn't stop to see him, but I absolutely did see him. Now, I will say one thing about Marco.
He's been down there for years.
I will say one thing that I think is fascinating about Marco Island and the beach is that it has more shells on it than any beach I've ever seen. I mean,
you can walk to Texas from there too, just about. The water is so very shallow.
Well, it's an island.
Yes.
So unless you can walk on water, I don't know that you could walk to Texas on it. But
the water is so shallow in that portion of the Gulf.
It is pretty shallow. I actually never got in the water while I was there. I mean, I got in the shower, but I did not get in the salt water, although I was around it a lot. I just, it's another, I just didn't. Hey, but I did look at a lot of shells, and there are, thousands of shells on the beach. There was these little small conch shells, these little, there was one spot that they washed up. One morning I was walking, it must have been 400 of them, and just in one little area the size of the table. I mean, they were just like on top of each other almost. So
Did you bring me one?
I didn't.
You didn't bring that? You didn't bring us one?
I did not.
Why not?
Oh, you didn't ask me to.
Huh?
You didn't ask me to.
Did you bring me a rock?
I did not bring you a rock. To
That's
Marco
a standing
Island, I
order.
don't know if they have any rocks in Marco Island. All they got is sand.
If you ain't got a rock, you get a shell, right?
Well, I mean, maybe.
Huh?
Why? I know you collect rocks, but
I have a jug of shells too.
If you took that box of rocks you've got
It's not a box.
and
It's a vase.
shook them up,
Uh-huh.
and
we don't give him a headache, okay?
And,
Now
you
let's.
know, if you pulled one out, could you have any, or if there was no labeling on it, could you identify where every rock came from?
Yep.
No, you couldn't.
I sure could.
You bring him in
You
next
could
week.
pick out the equatorial rock that I brought you.
It's still in the bag.
Oh, and
No, that's not what he said. He said put him in a bucket and shake him up.
yeah.
And he said put them in a box.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Point is, they're not going to be labeled in a bag.
And then the southern hemisphere rock I brought you.
That's the black one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple
You know
of them.
what? I think the thing is, I would tell him to bring it in and do that, but we've got no way to see if he's wrong or not because I don't know what the rock is.
They're just rocks, you know. They're some igneous, some sedimentary.
Here's a-
They might be metamorphic.
Here's a
more metamorphic, basaltic.
Here's a better test. I could probably bring in just some old rock I find on the side of the road. And, hey, man, I got this up in Iceland.
Cool.
And he would just be like, oh.
I had a guy.
Why would you lie to me about something like that?
Back in the day, and this was
Cruel,
more
man.
than 25 years ago, I had a guy pull in here and had rocks on his truck. He was selling,
Rocks.
rocks on his truck, and his sales pitch to me was, these rocks are millions of years old. I go, really?
Wow.
Really? You are kidding me. Millions of years. I said, wow. You know what?
How many
I'm,
did you buy?
I'm surprised. I'm turning you down on them, but no, thank you. I don't need. I was actually looking
Did
for
he offer you dating on the pricing and the billing?
yeah. You're carbon dating.
All righty, folks. 615-499-6690. We're waxing philosophic and remembering things that are going on.
Hey, let's talk for just a minute,
okay.
Josh, about Earth Mix Garden Products. And, we got the spring season coming up here. Although this coming week may not feel much like it, there's always a lot of things to be thinking about in the garden. The focus for many right now is inside, and I can understand why. And if you look about the house, you may see some areas of opportunity where you want to bring a little more green in there. You want to purify your air, make that living space a little better, and tropicals do that great. And of course, you're going to want to use Proganics I from Earth Mix to give you the very best
Certainly
results on growing those plants. For the first month to 6 weeks, you don't need any additional fertilizer. It has so much inherent fertility. It doesn't have fertilizer added to it. It's just inherently fertile. And it'll also, in addition with mycorrhizal fungi and humic acid, gives you all the best things for your plants. And it doesn't stop at just indoor plants. There are Earth Mix products for every occasion. Earth Mix Garden, landscape, supernatural compost for organic gardeners. Every product made by Earth Mix is sustainably produced and done so organically. So check it out. Earthmix.net is the website you're going to want to go to. And if you want to find out where you can find it, click on the Find Earth Mix tab, and there you'll see the site where you'll have the map with all the pins on it all over Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, even up in Ohio and Indiana, and coming soon to other locations. So remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden Products. And appreciate you giving us a listen here for just
It's
a moment.
absolutely true. Folks, and it's a good product. I use it at the house.
I use it as well.
Well, let's look right here again at I'm gonna refresh this to see if it's changed here in the last hour. You know, they're bad for doing that weather-wise, of giving us something. Now, are not showing any snow at all. That's been taken out. It's all turned to
It's too cold to snow.
Liquid precip. Except, you know, the snow is out on the 15th, the day after Valentine's Day.
3 inches of snow. Is that what that's trying to say?
Well, they're saying that on the 15th. Now, before last night when I went to bed, they were showing like 5 inches of snow for Thursday night, Friday morning. So apparently they think the timing is such that the rain will get in and get out of here before the temperatures cool sufficiently enough. So that may be the case. One thing I do want to concentrate on is that these nights of cold temperatures, 10 and 6 is one.
Yeah, buddy.
Now, if you get out in the outlying areas, you can subtract 5 degrees off of that.
Or any elevation at all.
So, we're talking for a moment about what do you need to do to be prepared for your plants. And one of the things that I get the greatest reaction from people as far as, are you kidding me? Is that you should water your plants before you have a hard freeze. Water them thoroughly. Now, don't wait until the day where it's already frozen, because the garden hose, or as Josh would say, hose pipe, will probably be frozen. You won't be able to straighten it out because it's stiff as a board. But in the days leading up to it, say by Wednesday, you want to make sure everything is watered thoroughly, especially those things that are in containers. And the reason is that plants that are growing in a container effectively lose 2 hardiness zones. And what I mean by that is, if a plant is labeled as a zone 5 hardy, that would generally mean it would be good down to maybe 10 to 15 below zero, where you take off 2 hardiness zones by it being on top of the ground. That means it's only going to be good to maybe about 5 degrees. Well, if you've got an arborvitae, kind of like the one back here in the corner behind me, in a container, otherwise would be hardy, it's going to perhaps have a chance of getting freeze damage or freeze burn. At least keeping that soil as wet as possible mitigates a lot of the issues. And the reason is because you're filling that pore space with water, and that water indeed does freeze. But what that also does is that the temperature change to the roots inside the root ball happens more slowly, because liquid
32 is 32.
Yeah, liquid doesn't change temperature as or solid in the case as fast as gas does. So that pore space in between the soil is going to change comparatively fast. You want that water in there to slow that down, and also for hydration purposes. One of the things that plants can suffer from, they don't suffer from wind chill. So, while it affects us humans pretty badly because we feel it on our skin, plants don't suffer from that, but they can suffer from desiccation due to cold, dry.
Hate it when I desiccate.
Yeah. So, be just a word to the wise. Be mindful. And the good thing is that we do show signs of having rainfall in the days leading up to it. But if you've got containers, a really good idea, get out there on Thursday and soak those thoroughly. I mean, try to drown them, and then drain your hose before you put it away, because it's going to be full of ice should you need to use it.
Got an old house, you don't want to leave it hooked up to the pipe in the bib.
Yeah, and then one of the things we needed to cover also, Josh, more in your world, and to a greater extent in all of our world, is things to be thinking about before cold weather arrives around the home. It's not just out in your garden and in your landscape, it's your physical dwelling itself. There are things that people probably get a little lax about because we haven't had really any cold weather to speak of in a bit.
And it's something, something as simple as walk around the house and lock all the windows.
Yeah.
Casement windows, double hungs, single hungs, turn the lock. Lock them. That's when they are they're most efficient. Is when you've got everything closed.
All the seals are seated tightly.
Okay.
If you
push the door all the way shut.
You might need to. Now, most of the vents that are on basements and all don't open and close manually. They're more just kind of like an automatic thing, right?
No.
No, but
Well, the newer one.
You might
no.
consider cutting a piece of cardboard or something that fits the opening from the inside, or stick it up in there, or a piece of insulation.
They used to make covers, and there are all kinds of different things that go along. There's a much more today. You see that lots of homes are on slabs, so it's not an issue on a slab house. But opening and closing your foundation vents is a good idea. But if you close them, you got to remember to open them back up.
Now, one of the things you need to also think about, if you have, and maybe you don't know what the case is, but if you have a faucet, maybe that's in a part of the house that doesn't get a lot of flow or whatever, open the cabinet doors. If it's a sink in the kitchen, open the cabinet doors underneath.
Now, you and I live in historic aged houses, so that is also very, very key to that right there.
Very important to remember that, and leave your faucet dripping.
If you have a basement that has exposed pipes in it that is not heated,
you might want to
think about that. Yeah. Even something as simple as incandescent bulbs instead of LED bulbs will. And
all you're trying to do is keep it above freezing.
Because it's not the problem with pipes freezing is not the fact that they're frozen.
It's when they thaw. And it's messy.
It can be very, very bad for you.
So you want to make sure and just be cognizant of the weather conditions that may exist by this time next week. If we may be going on the air.
We're talking 3 days below. Really? 3 days there.
We got 3 days where it does not get above freezing. If Friday is correct, they're saying 34, but there's a lot of things can happen when you have sustained freezing temperatures for perhaps as much as 72 hours. Be mindful of it. Don't get caught unaware. Kind of develop a checklist and say, okay, let me check for leaks in the crawl space.
If you see the curtains blowing, that's a sign that you haven't locked those windows or you have a problem there.
And I think the point you make about
it's going to be really interesting on some of these some of the newer homes that have the large picture windows and window walls, folks. It's still going to be the coldest surface on your wall.
Is that not the place where people who have invested in the better windows are probably going to see the greater benefit? I mean, although even the very best windows are not nearly as insulated as probably
a 2x6 wall with insulation.
Right.
Nah,
not even close.
Not even,
what is the R factor of the very best windows that are on the market?
They don't even really rate them that way anymore, David.
So
it's U factors and different glasses and different components.
Yeah, I know it's me factor. I know it's
all about U factor, David.
That.
So you're talking about keeping everything thaw. Is there any truth then to having all your faucets dripping?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You've never lived in an apartment complex in South Nashville, have you?
Nope.
Well,
okay.
And back to the
look at here. Is this true?
Back to the crawl space issue. That's where it's really prevalent, because if you don't have a tight crawl space, then that air underneath the house is going to get cold. It's going to get to freezing quickly. So
you heat it and you cool it, but again, what those vents do is it allows air to circulate. And it allows you don't want to keep moisture inside there, so that's why it's critical. If you do decide to close them, you need to open them back up. So, and that it's probably is more critical in the wintertime to have them operating properly. Than it is in the summer. So
let's say someone has a house like mine. My house was built in 1998. My crawl space is just a big giant basement. So, and it's a furnished basement. It's got ceilings.
Do you
and all
heat
that.
it?
Yes, it does have heating that goes down in there.
Okay.
So really the only faucets I need to leave dripping, leave it open, are the ones that are on outside walls.
Have you ever had any problem before?
I did. Well, it's never been that cold before since I've been in this house.
It wasn't on the disclosure statement?
Well, I don't remember.
The house? They wouldn't have been on mine.
When you say outside walls, you're talking about inside the
98.
house.
Yes, yeah.
So I would say
you can get in most homes you can get by with one, perhaps two that are at the extremes, and you should know or have a pretty good idea where the water's coming in and go, well, where's the opposite end of this, and you leave a drip
And it's also going to take, 3 days, that's 72 hours. If we were looking at 10 to 12 days, I would probably be much more. That would probably be.
But all it's got to have time to do is freeze.
Yeah.
And, and water does expand. But I think it's about 11% when it freezes.
You're in 1998, I would say you're probably in pretty good shape. I
would think so, but
better safe than sorry.
Well,
yes, you don't want to have to be dealing with that.
and do you know of I would probably be concerned a little bit more if you had a water pipe that you knew was on that exterior wall that was in a siding application. Do you have a place like that?
The only place I got siding on my house is like on the porch side, where the covered porch side. Everywhere else is brick.
Okay.
Well, this is a really good opportunity if you've got a headlamp or whatever to get, or
a brooder lamp. I've got one that will be in
to get under the house and kind of say, okay, here's where the water's coming in, and look at the branching structure of the plumbing, and kind of get a lay of the land and say, okay, it's coming in and it's branching in the middle, so that's good. It's not running along the wall, which exposes it to the colder weather more quickly. But yours is all heated anyway.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it at all. Yeah. Now, at the proving grounds, there's one spot that gets a brooder lamp on these kind of nights. I just leave it run. I just turn it on and just let it go.
Yeah, you don't. There are times to be energy and resource conscious, and there are times to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure we don't have a problem.
Oh yeah.
So coming up next weekend. Yes. We're going to have conditions that'll be right. Even on Friday night, Saturday morning, 10 degrees is what the forecast low is. It could be 5 degrees here at Bates Nursery. So that's just the way that is. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, depending on what the weather does, we might not even be open next weekend. Simply because the possibility of precipitation also, and if that's the case, a lot of the staff here lives in outlying counties, just like a lot of people do all over the Middle Tennessee area. So we don't want to put them unnecessarily at risk and put them on the road.
Because Bradley Parkway is really slick when it gets white.
A lot of places are slick. So, it's there's no need in taking undue risk. The main thing is preparation.
Yep.
We know there's a really good likelihood of some, certainly at least cold weather happening, possibly precipitation to go with it. Don't be caught unaware.
Be a Boy Scout.
It'll be
and I will certainly be writing about this coming week in my newsletter in the garden. And while we're on the subject, we'll just go ahead and cover that quickly here.
Okay, cover it. Count
Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Of course, we as we talked about last week, and we've gone through some pretty significant changes on our. Although it might not be obvious to you, but for people like Tyler and myself and others of the staff here, there's been a lot of behind the scenes kind of there's still things we're dealing with, and change is always a little uncomfortable, but this week we're up and we're at it, and we're also improving our facilities.
We went live, as it were.
We did go live with it, and we're still up and running, so that's good. If you go to batesnursery.com, there's really a wealth of information there, and go to batesnursery.com and click on this little hourglass here, and that's your window to the search world of what all we have here at Bates Nursery. And you could type in whatever word you want to put in there. I just typed in ilex, and we'll see if
ilex.
Ilex is, of course, the botanical word for holly. Now, you could have typed in the word holly, and you're going to get the same thing, but that tells you everything we've got in the way of hollies.
What happens if you put Buffy in there?
I don't want to find out. Let's see what. I don't think we'll get anything, Josh. But you asked.
Okay, it's interactive.
You want to
you're Holly and Buffy. Listen.
Yeah, I'm going to say we get nothing.
You're going to get no search.
I'm going to say we get. Search results for Buffy. Well, you get nothing, Josh. So not all that unpredictable. But when you deal with the logic set that you deal with all the time, Josh,
I understand.
You would think about putting Buffy
But even
in there.
I can operate the Bates Nursery site, David.
Obviously, we don't have Buffy or anything that has
Skip Laurels. You got
but even that's spelled SCHIP.
a ship.
Some people call them that.
Ships. Okay.
Go to basenursery.com to begin your gardening searches. And not only do we have our entire inventory online, how many we have on hand, how much they will cost you, should you choose to purchase those, you can do so through our website, basenursery.com, connected to our online store. You can also get a lot of information there, beginning with the newsletter. That's what I put out every week. And if you go there, you can put your name, email address in there, and you'll come to you in your inbox at 3:50 every Thursday afternoon.
Like clockwork. You can count on it.
And it'll be 350 words.
You can count on that, too.
It's not, I don't overload you with a whole lot of extra stuff. So there's that. And if you decide you don't want it anymore, you can just unsubscribe. We don't share your information with anyone. So you have that assurance. Now, the next thing, and this is where Tyler really comes in, is the Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp. But we haven't seen the Tyler cam today. Do we have the Tyler camera? There we go,
There
Tyler.
There I am.
All right, and Tyler, can you give us a little? I'm gonna slip on in here to the Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp site. By the way, we did receive a Best of Nashville winner from the Writer's Choice for our Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp.
Bravo.
And that's what Tyler is in. He is heavily invested time-wise into that. We've got rain gardens coming up on February the 8th and disease and treatment products. So those are both things that are pertinent topics. And we actually go straight to our viewers to get the material, to get the
do.
questions.
Yes.
They ask us,
we do.
we want to hear about this, and that's what we do them on. And you see the entire calendar is up there. Medicinal plants, springtime container gardens, landscape design, container gardening across the seasons, drawing landscape plans, grafting, all the way through the spring season. You see we're way on out there ahead. So check all that out. And we have a couple coming out every week this time of year at batesnursery.com. So check that out, the Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp, BNBBC as we like to call it, because it's, sounds cool.
Yes.
And so
We also have a monthly newsletter. If you want to sign up at the top of that page, it just goes out once a month and kind of gives you an overview of everything that we're going to be talking about in the coming months.
just a little reminder
Very,
to
very
help,
cool.
to help jog your memory. Say,
good
I
stuff
don't
too,
want to
folks.
forget. And by the way, when you go over there, you can click and have the reminder set to your calendar so that you'll get the reminder that says, hey, we're going live on the air. And they're archived. You can always watch them
At your leisure.
But if you want to be involved in the live interactive part of it, you certainly have that capability. And that comes only through the live version. And you join us just like, we do here when I'm away or Josh is away. Sometimes we have guests come on through our Zoom connection. So check that out, basenursery.com. We got a lot of stuff we're getting ready as we're working towards spring. We're doing a greenhouse partial renovation on our greenhouse. It's a big building, and frankly, we just can't afford to do it all at once. So
understand.
we're doing part of it. So, but it's going to be really nice. We've used a lot of wonderful materials from a local supplier.
Great lumberyard.
and we
in Eagleville.
appreciate
the best lumberyard in Eagleville, Tennessee.
We appreciate the great folks at Carlson Builder Supply. So come out and see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Check us out online at batesnursery.com. Beautifying Nashville since 1932, 89 years ago.
89?
My grandmother started this business. Grateful for that, to have a really insightful and a very Nanny. She was a wonderful lady, and she, more than just plants, she really loved people, and we really try to make sure we don't lose grasp of that value. So come see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center. We're open from 10 until 2 o'clock today, 9 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Check the newsletter and our website for any
Special
changes. Well, there may be some changes in hours coming up this weekend, simply because the weather can deal us some curveballs.
Curveballs. Speaking of curveballs,
Yeah.
David Bates. Tyler, could you go to input 2, please? Just in for a second here. This is
Yeah. You gotta learn to mute. You gotta mute the TV, guys.
Gotta mute the
That's
TV.
on Tyler. He's got the remote.
That's
My
okay.
bad.
That's all right. Everything's
Okay,
great.
we all get a bad one on that one every now and then.
You often hear me refer to my home as the proving grounds.
I often hear you say often.
Often?
Yeah.
How often do you hear that?
I hear you say often.
Often.
The T silent, by the way. I'm just me.
It's often.
It's often, Josh. Yeah. But
How do
go
you
ahead.
spell Monday?
You don't.
You've
spell
heard
it-
me use the word mown grass too.
Mown
I think you
grass.
spell it MOAN. I think that's the way you spell it.
MOWN. Moan.
Moan.
Okay.
That's not a
You've
real
heard
word.
me say wilt, haven't you?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I make up my own language. Ginormous was one of ours. It was also a Cary in
Well,
it.
ginormous is a curious.
That was a Cary kid that came up with that one. What we have up here, and again, as I often refer to the home as the proving grounds, I like to consider some of the products that I've got as a service, a customer service where I'm going to buy what is going to be available to the general public just to see, because I'm going to use this thing.
This is a product that's made by Miracle Grow. It looks to me like as I look
It's
closer.
a Miracle Grow dual chamber composting bin that you're going to make your own compost.
So I guess
I'm
they
going
shipped it,
grain, man.
They shipped it to you in a great big box. You just opened it up and there it looked just
One
like that,
would
right?
think that might be the way that it would come. Now you would, and you're assuming that there would be some assembly if you're going to be ordering this off.
Oh, yeah,
of
you had
the
to put the
internet.
legs on it at least, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. But when the delivery driver shows up and he has a flat carton,
That is what we call a clue.
and I thought, well, now if you look at this as you see it visually displayed here, you would think that, okay, I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah,
have
it's got sliding
3
doors.
boxes, maybe 4, but I mean, you're going to have 2 big boxes, 1 big box, somewhere
One
along-
flat box.
1 flat carton.
But of course they had detailed instructions in there. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, no printed instructions inside. Now, there was a QR code in the nice little note that they want to save a tree, but there are certain things, and that's, there's
You
some
could have printed
validity.
it on the inside of the cardboard.
They could have done that. Okay, we can maybe put it on with green ink, and we could have shredded these things and then used it as a compost material as well inside there. So we're all returning it. That's not the case. Now, I've been working on this on and off for almost 3 days, and we're getting close.
Oh, you're still not done?
Have you got any? Any progress photographs for us?
We are 97% to this point right here.
You know what your problem is, right?
What is my problem, Michael?
You bought a Scott's product.
No. I have several Scott's things. I have the drop spreader. I have their broadcast spreader. I've had several.
Well,
I'm not.
again,
That's not what
these
I'm
are
saying.
home
and to be
owner-
fair now, calling something anything in this day and time a certain product brand is really a misnomer because they just stick.
They stick a name
They
on
put
it.
a sticker on there. So, Miracle Grow does not have a composter factory.
There is not a blue component anywhere on this thing. This is a black and white. I had to resort to the old
I
fashioned
guarantee
way
you
of
can
print.
find them exactly like that has some other brand on it.
Probably.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
Probably.
But the point being is you don't have the instructions on it, so now you're having to.
I do have the instructions now, but I
would
was
now.
forced to print them, and
Oh, so no tree was saved.
no
then.
tree was saved at the end because
But they didn't.
They shifted the guilt to Josh.
Exactly.
It's all on me.
They sleep better knowing that
think
they
that-
didn't
and
kill a
again,
tree.
It's a hit job.
with the research that I did, I'm very, because you can start 2 different versions. You can have one working, and then you can have some things going on. You can have some that's ready, and then another batch. Because this is going to take when it gets warm, we're probably looking at 40, 50 days from the time you start it until you get it really going. Depending upon
when it gets warm, it doesn't take nearly as long. And of course, the secret to
Good
having
compost.
success in compost, you got to have the right materials going in.
stuff.
You also have to have a constant is a really available supply of air.
and there are plenty of
and,
slots in this, and they're
Here
not
here at the Earth Mix facilities, we use a machine that turns material, and we do that a couple times a week.
I don't have one of those machines.
Well, no,
David.
you will have, because that's what this does. Is by tumbling it, you introduce that air into it. Because when it goes anaerobic, which means
And I got the additive.
Anaerobic means that it's not getting air.
Oh, okay.
So-
But yeah, it'll get gunky. But in the research, there are barrel types. There are all kinds of different shapes and sizes. I thought this one was gonna. I read somewhere that the geometric shape, as you flipping things, it will actually help, and it's not just going to slide around on the inside of the barrel.
It does create angles all the way around.
Needless to say, we will be watching this as we go along, ladies and gentlemen, because there's a problem with the axle design. I have a feeling. Okay, because we'll see.
It's not made of wood, is it?
No.
Because you don't want your axle composting along the process.
No. But very few screws in it. As a matter of fact, there are about 8 in this whole.
So you just basically pop it together.
The little clip that you see on the front, that's what holds the individual panels together. So there's going to be a lot of air inside
I would
it.
tell you, now composting is a great thing for anybody to do. The biggest thing that works against composting at this time of year is temperature. Okay. And
Tyler, you go back to the regular.
When we're composting on a slab,
when it's
the
10
earth mix
degrees
facility,
outside, you're not going to.
you're not going to get a lot. And so what you have to do is you have to allow a lot more time.
Yes,
it takes quite a lot longer.
And this will be a neat thing to have. And again, it's a
batches
12.
of compost that can be ready in 2 weeks in the summertime can take a month this time of year.
Yeah.
So that's just the way that is.
So we will be watching this. I think it's going to do what it says it's supposed to do without any
There's
problem.
no reason that it won't. It's not really about the shape of the composting. It's about getting the materials in there, turning it on a couple times a week, keeping enough air to it so that it can properly fixate the nitrogen that it needs to be able to do, and it'll break down.
But be
and you'll
advised.
have really good compost coming.
Be
as a result
advised,
of it.
it's going to take you at more than 2 hands to do this as well, because when you're trying to put those little clips,
Well, and it's also fairly challenging to get the compost out of it cleanly. I know you've got doors on it,
but
and
those doors
you
will
can go to the
complete-
bottom position. You're going to probably need to invest in some kind of a shallow tub to catch it.
I got your tub. I got the tub. I got the tub.
We'll make sure.
All righty, folks. Now, there's another thing happening tomorrow that we might want to cover.
Yeah.
Michael's son Sam is picking the Chiefs to win.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
He's picking Tom Brady.
I heard him.
He said it actually sounded like Tom and Jerry, but he was trying to say Tom Brady.
You know
is what he was trying to say.
We drove through Tampa last week, or earlier this week, actually, and got to see, and I saw 2 different electronic billboards that had "Welcome to Chiefs Country" on there, and I know that man with a lot of chagrin. I will say this, with all due respect to Mr. Brady, there does need to be 23 other really good players accompanying him, because Kansas City Chiefs
52.
They're balanced.
They
Very
are
balanced.
a very good team, and
So real fast, I assume you're picking the Chiefs,
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Yes,
Josh.
I think the Chiefs big, but it would not surprise me to see TB12 out there.
I'm going to pick the Bucks, but they're not. I mean, they're going to win by like 3 points. It's going to be like a separation of a field goal.
And I hope you're right, because it'll be a really entertaining game, and that's really what everybody wants. It's a game that's competitive, and doesn't disappoint.
Tyler's for the Bucks too.
So we're half of us are going to be right, half of us are going to be.
I think the Bucks' best chance.
What'd you say?
I think
I guess I have no say in the matter. So.
No, you're for the Bucks. But before we run out of time, I looked this up earlier because I know how you guys like prop bets.
Yeah.
Will Tony Romo correctly predict an offensive play?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
No question.
I say he will probably do about 75% on those. He's really good.
How many times will Queen Latifah be said by Jim Nance?
I'm going to say is there an over under on it? Is there?
Yeah, under 1 or over 1.
Oh, it'll be over 1.
Probably over 1.
What's the over under on Tony Romo saying, "Let me tell you, Jim"?
Oh, that's at least 50.
Yeah, it'll be a bunch.
And then this is the funniest prop bet I've seen so far. Odds on the primary color of Jim Nance's tie.
It'll be red.
Blue is the current favorite.
Oh, okay.
CBS, they're carrying the Super Bowl.
Right.
And then the last one, the over-under time of the first Giselle reference.
Oh, that would be the pregame.
I was going to say, is it before or after the first quarter?
Oh, before.
It's got to be before.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why you would wait. I mean,
Yeah.
She's a pretty outstanding woman.
All righty, folks. But
Not just in looks. I mean,
I personally think the only way that the Chiefs lose is if somebody steps on Mahomes' toe on the way to the game.
In some seriousness, there was an incident that might affect the way that Andy Reid's calling the game. His son was involved in a car accident, hurt some kids or something yesterday.
Yeah.
And he's isn't his son like one of the coaches?
He did not make the trip. It was, I think he might be taking a little trip to
hopefully
the,
all parties connected
Kansas
with that
City Police
are doing
Department is what
okay.
I've
But
heard.
yeah, never underestimate Andy Reid's coaching ability.
Regardless of what happens during the, shall we say that word, David?
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl tomorrow. We'll be here next Saturday morning for the
from the
at-home
green
show.
room.
Man, maybe virtually, because I may have to go into the we may have to go into the magnetron and
We'll find
wormhole.
out.
But thank you for being here this Saturday morning and helping us celebrate our 23rd birthday. They never thought we'd live, David. So I mean,
We never thought we would.
Well, that's okay. But thank you. It's all because of you. It's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates. Thanks again. We'll see you next Saturday morning.